Hi guys, Craig of Film Shrapnel here. I know Tobias is doing his best films of 2023, but I didn't really watch too much that came out this year to be honest, so I'm going to do a list of the best things I watched this year, film and TV. Now I couldn't include everything, I'll leave out a lot of the Oscar nominees for best film we watched because it'd be a bit unfair to include those. Here's my list in no particular order. Number 1, Barbie. Now I did a mini review of this film, sorry. You can check it out if you haven't. I haven't had a chance to watch Oppenheimer yet, but I'm sure I'm probably going to like it. I really think that Barbie could be an Oscars contender. It's just really well made. I don't get all the haters out there that didn't like this film, that said it was like against men and all this bullshit. It's a satire, if anything, and if you have half a brain, you can see the film is a really smart comedy and it's really funny. If anything, actually, if we're talking about men, Ryan Gosling kind of steals the show as Ken. It's not really for kids though. It's really for teens and up, I would say. My daughter didn't really get it. Yeah, so if you want to know more about what I think of Barbie, please check out my mini review of that for more. Next up, number 2 is Succession. Now, when I first heard of this show, I put it off for a long time because I thought it would be like a knockoff of Billions, but it's like 100 times better. So basically, it's based on Rupert Murdoch and his family, but also other powerful billionaire families. There's a lot of Trump vibes in there as well, so I think it's kind of about their family kind of merged. And I think it's really on point for today, like especially how the political world and like media and politics are kind of tied together. Uh, and in season 4, something really shocking happened. I won't tell you because I'd ruin it. It's really amazing. It was like it felt like one of the biggest TV events in a long time. Like this particular episode that I just mentioned, it was only an hour long, but it felt a lot longer. I also really appreciate how it ended. I like how one of the guys from Peep Show created it. All the performances were amazing, and it was funny when it wanted to be funny. It was serious when it needed to be serious, and it was always super smart. The next one, number 3, is The Bear. My brother and a friend recommended this to me, so I had to check it out because both of them did it like separately. And I was planning to do a mini review of this show, but I just didn't get around to it. What I really like about The Bear is how it creates tension through sound and even makes you feel really stressed at points. Initially, I didn't think I'd like this show because it has a kind of a feel-good kind of vibe to it. It's not really my kind of thing, but there's actually quite complex characters here, and it's really well done. The cast is also great. You immediately see that the people who've written the show really know a lot about the restaurant world, and you learn a lot actually about food and the restaurant world through watching it. It's also another great comedy. There were a couple of small things that bugged me, but they were mostly minor, so I can kind of let that pass. Now, number 4 is Hellraiser. Without a doubt, Hellraiser has become my favorite horror movie. It was Tobias's idea to do it for the podcast, and at first I was a bit apprehensive about it. I knew Pinhead, but I didn't know anything else. Um, I also kind of feel it's not so much a horror, but like a supernatural crime thing. Basically, a woman is manipulated into killing men in her attic to bring her zombie husband's brother back to life, who she's also having an affair with. Uh, I really like to feel that like we're following the villains, Julie and Frank. I feel like they're the main characters, and they're these kind of minor people caught up in something much more vast that they don't understand. There's also a lot of special effects, like really great 80s special effects here, especially when Frank first regenerates. I also mentioned that I won't recommend the sequels. There are many, and they're mostly not as good. Check out our episode on it for more. Next up is Black Christmas. This is my second favorite horror movie. Another one that we did a podcast on actually. And like this with Hellraiser really has renewed my faith in horror films because before I was not really too into them. I didn't think I'd like Black Christmas so much because I thought it'd be quite a silly film. I thought it'd be full of problems because it's supposed to be this like early slasher movie, and I thought it would be a bit stupid, but actually it was really smart. Like it's really a masterpiece, and like it feels a bit crazy to say this about a slasher movie, but it's very good. Um, it's what makes it really scary actually is that it feels like what happens in this film really could happen. There's nothing supernatural. It's just an unknown guy in a house leaving these crazy phone calls and killing people. and it's really unsettling. I think it's really I think it's underrated. I think not enough people know about it. So if you have friends looking for horror films, really suggest you check it out. Also check out our podcast episode on it. Next up at number 6 is The Princess Bride. Now this film has been on my list to watch for years. I kept seeing it in so many memes. Um, Actually, I first heard about it because I was writing about Silk Road, the online drug market place. Basically, there was a guy who used to go by Dread Roberts, and that's how I found out about this film. The Princess Bride is hilarious. It's very quotable. It has a very Monty Python feel, and it's really not surprising that Rob Reiner directed it, who's also directed This Is Spinal Tap. It's a very interesting mix of films. There's also a lot of trivia to this film, so if you're interested in that, I really recommend you go and read it. Especially if you watch the film and you haven't looked into it, there's a lot of crazy stuff happened behind the scenes. I also showed this film to my daughter, though it's not so much a family film. I thought it would be, but maybe she'll appreciate it more when she grows up. Next in at number 7 is Bonnie and Clyde. So I kind of had a mission in 2023 to catch up on some classic movies that I hadn't seen, and Bonnie and Clyde was one of them. And I've wanted to watch this film for a very long time. I feel really stupid for not doing it earlier. Faye Dunaway is amazing. I also wonder, by the way, if Walton Goggins based his acting on how Warren Beatty acts in this film is very similar. I was expecting this film also to be very slow because it's an older film, it's from 1967, but it didn't really have that problem at all. It pretty much just gets going immediately, which is very refreshing. It just immediately rolls with the plot. And you can also see when you watch this film why it was so controversial for the time. It was especially violent for the 1960s. Next up is Troll 2 at number 8. Now, this is a really terrible film, but I love it. It's one of the funniest things I've ever watched. It's like probably one of the best, so bad it's good films I've ever seen. It might even be better than The Room. And I'm actually serious. I mentioned in the podcast that we did about this episode, this film. I really make a tradition to watch this every year because it's just so funny. So basically, the story behind it was that it was made by a bunch of Italian filmmakers in the US who barely spoke any English, and it's kind of like an anti-vegetarian film, which is quite ridiculous. Um, it has so many damn strange and odd, over-the-top moments. Like you really just have to watch it. So yeah, check our episode on it. Next up at number 9 is Primal. Basically, it's a show about a Neanderthal and a T-Rex living together for survival after both of them lose their families. There's almost no dialogue except in one episode, but it's a lot. I really recommend this show if you're looking for something that's kind of like escapism. It's got nothing to do with anything. You can just watch it and feel like you're in another world. The only other show like that I really I kind of think of was Mandalorian. In the first season, there's a really amazing chase. It takes over the course of 3 episodes where a long-necked dinosaur, I'm not sure what they're called, sorry, gets really sick and starts chasing the T-Rex and the Neanderthal. And it's really crazy. The second season, though, I will mention, felt like it moved away from the original idea a fair bit, but it also had some great moments. I think now it's finished though, so I think they did 2 seasons. But again, if they're done, they're done. Now number 10, a silly one that I feel again I should have watched a long time ago. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I was really late to the party on this one. Tobias was the one who recommended it, and as soon as I watched it, I started binging it almost every day. It's really refreshing. It's like an anti-Friends show if you guys haven't seen it. Imagine if the friends were just really shitty to each other and were just never there for each other. And yeah, it can get really pretty fucked up and just does what it wants, which is also good. Friends felt very studio. This is not. Feels very liberated. The only thing that annoys me about this show is I don't know enough people that have actually watched it that can talk to it about it. Mind you, it can be a bit hard to get into because of how the show's changed so much over the years. So every time I'm recommending it to someone, I'm not sure where to get them to start. No, maybe not at the beginning because it feels too early on. They were still establishing themselves. I also fell in love with their podcast as well. And that's it. That's my best films I watched for 2023. Thanks for listening.
Shrapnel!